Mine says it's streaming live, Doc.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's-
fine.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout again. Talking about X today.
X.
Of yeah. Yeah, we're up. I just gotta mute the there we go. Yeah, so Elon, with exemplary foresight and planning, has decided to totally rename Twitter to X, which has over 900 different patents and trademarks and copyrights filed, okay? Mostly trademarks, and a number of logos have been set up as trademark logos. But the two big ones, aside from the fact that China wants to put a contract out on his ass, which, well, we'll pass the hat at the end of the show, but Microsoft owns since 2003 a trademark for X, of Xbox fame, okay? And
Doc, 1 second, right? I don't know where you read that, but he's had X since the days of when he was with PayPal.
when he
So
built
their
X.com.
trademark means nothing.
PayPal, PayPal was originally developed on X.com. That was his developmental platform, yeah. But it's not a trademark, okay? And what he owned was X.com. He owned the domain, okay? That's all
Right.
he had. Oh, he doesn't have a trademark at all for X. Now, the letter X of the alphabet, you know,
can't
that
trademark that.
well, you can trademark it, but within a very limited scope. You can say, for instance, Xbox, okay? That would be legitimate for some applications, as long as they apply to what the company is doing. In Microsoft's case, it would be gaming, okay? And the communication and the chat rooms and all these different peripheral functions that surround it. That's legit. On the other side of the coin, Facebook has a claim on X, but for something that is not nearly as big a threat to Musk. It's not really the same sort of application. And trademark law is funny. You know, even if you develop a logo that looks like a three-eyed panda, okay? If you're selling women's clothing with that logo and I'm selling gardening services, yes, it could be just a sight unseen, you know, just seeing the logo, it could be confusing.
Yeah.
But since it's in a totally different realm, it's not threatening to you. It's not likely to be encountered by anybody who's looking for your women's clothing. They're normally going to overrule it or throw it out, okay? But Microsoft has a strong case. Now, whether Microsoft or Facebook, Meta, is going to actually go through and file a lawsuit remains to be seen. There's another guy, an Indian
Doc,
musician.
I actually was involved with a case in Toronto here for Toronto.com tried to stop anybody from using the word Toronto
Nope.
in their domain name.
No
And
way.
it was thrown out of court
Sure.
basically because you can't trademark a place. Right? So Toronto's a location, it's a place.
Yeah.
You can't trademark that.
Even the city of Toronto could not do that. Yeah.
Even they couldn't, no,
No.
because there's other cities called Toronto.
No, there are exclusions to what can even be filed. Now, unfortunately, in the U.S. patent, okay, and Bill would definitely be willing to corroborate this if he was here. Sometimes something that is totally unbelievable that anybody would even be stupid enough to submit will actually go through the mill and get approved,
Oh, yeah.
and then promptly get shot down and revoked. But sometimes some weird stuff goes through. But the problem is that it's obvious that either he gave no thought whatsoever and didn't give a damn, in which case, you got to wonder, were his lawyers even aware that he was contemplating this? or he thinks he's totally above it and doesn't give a damn.
More of
Now,
that.
for a guy,
Probably that.
for a guy whose company is already over $13 billion in debt and already taking a tremendous hit on advertisers and users, it just seems like an asinine gamble.
Well, think of this. His plan is to turn X into the biggest financial site in the world. Like, he's talking about putting banks out of fucking.
Yeah.
This is the guys. Someone needs to give him a good shake and say, "Hey, pull your head out of your ass there, buddy." You would think, I can't see how the guys who invested in this with them, there's some pretty, heavy duty people, and they're about to lose billions. And because this thing is on a slippery slope, and it's greased with grease lightning.
And he really needs another $4 or $5 billion worth of combined lawyers' costs and settlement findings on top of that $13 billion he's already sitting on.
Okay. But look at this, even as a user, right? 80% of what I read after noon is what I read in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But the thing is, I'm not going to Threads, not going to Facebook, not going to Instagram. There's a lot of us who are just, we'll walk away from it all. And all that is lost to everybody. Because I'm not going to get an Instagram account so I can be on Threads. Makes no freaking sense to me at all why they would tie that application to two others. I wouldn't have even joined Facebook if it hadn't been that I needed it for when I was in business. Because I actually took out a pact with a late friend of mine that neither one of us would ever join Facebook.
Well, there's going to be some serious repercussions to this so-called decision of his, and whether it's going to be a lawsuit remains to be seen. But hang on, we got somebody in the.
It's going to die on the vine.
Steve's going to join it. Well, I have not left Twitter yet,
Steve,
but I am thinking I probably will. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not gonna. And and I wonder, how about the folks that are paying? I don't know what it is now. It's like $12 a month or $8 a month, something like that, to get that blue check mark next to your name. So now, what are you going to get? A black X?
Oh no, when it switched to X, which seemed to be instantaneously, that I got a notice and something about we are now X, and go here to verify your account. And I'm like, nope. But they did say blue mark.
Here's another interesting thing. There's a fellow by the name of Gene X Huang, okay, who has had for many years the Twitter handle @X. Okay, 1 or 2 digit usernames are a premium. One sold, I think it was @N, sold for 50 grand. Okay,
Well,
so this guy was contacted and offered some swag, some X swag.
some swag. Oh yeah.
And he says, well, I might consider selling if the price is right, but I hadn't had any intention of getting rid of it. And the next thing you know, Mr. Huang's @X handle had been seized by Musk, and he was given an arbitrary new @X 123456789987765 handle. That's his new user handle. Okay.
No.
Now, out of curiosity, I went and looked on Twitter, looked up @X, and I found that I had been following @Twitter. Okay. I am now following. I did not opt to, but they've moved everything over. So now I'm following @X. And I went back in its history, and @X shows up for the tweets of @Twitter for, I mean, I went back to the 1st of May. I'm sure it continues on back. It's basically, they just changed the graphic, the username, and adopted the entire existing account and all of its history. And they trashed. Okay. Now this Huang, his account, he has a new username. He also has a new Virgin account to start building all over again. No followers, no history.
Oh, he lost
So,
everything.
Can you be a
15
dirtbag or
years.
what, Elon? Jesus H. Christ. You know,
Oh.
besides being a fucking bully.
Well,
And
what about the users that were following that guy? That
Yeah.
shows no.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Unreal.
Well, that's
No, this could
typical
happen with
Musk.
this could happen with anybody. So say there was a friend of Elon's called Simon Cox. I may lose my handle on Twitter. Not that I use it anymore, very
Well-
rarely. I may use it because his mate says I want that one. Think
They say in their terms and conditions that they only remove usernames in the event of what they deem to be a serious breach of protocol. Okay. But this wasn't a removal. This was, they just strong arm took it. And we don't have a right to that username. It's not ours. We can't claim it. So, from a legal standpoint, I guess it's his playground. He can do what he wants. But, if you haven't created enough negative press for yourself already, granted, of all of it, this is one of the most minor things you've done, but it just kind of adds a little bit more fuel to the fire. And personally, I'm going to delete my account on Twitter. I don't give a damn. I'm not going to stick around. The only reason that I have stuck around this long is just because I was kind of curious, in a morbid sense, what was going to happen next. But now there's an India-based EDM musician, and I don't know exactly how he pronounces, but I think it's K Slider, KXLIDER, who uses the exact same X that Twitter is now using as his logo and has for several years. He's got recordings out there. He's got usernames out there. Now, he readily admitted it's a Unicode. He can't lay any claim to it. So he's just going to have to go back and change all of his accounts and music profiles and product graphics to something new. He's not going to.
Alternatively, everybody starts using it.
Well, there's an interesting idea.
Because what's he going to do?
We change Pornhub to X.
You can't, because you quite rightly said it's a Unicode
Exactly.
thing. It's actually from a monotype alphabet letter. There's that. It's ubiquitous. It's all over the place, and you can't see somebody using a Unicode.
Well, and on top of that, it's the developer of that monocode has it's totally free and open to use. Okay, so he doesn't have any claim on it either. I mean, it's a letter in the alphabet, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But the graphic design of it, the patent office in the U.S., if you're using the same color and background, that kind of thing, well, they may or may not. But the thing is, you got to be in basically the same market or niche where that confusion issue even raises its head. So the folks that seem to have a pretty hefty claim would be Microsoft. Somewhat more questionable, but possible, is Facebook, Meta. So, but the vast majority of those 900 plus existing trademarks they got nothing to say about it because they're.
Another part of it would be the date too. If what I'm thinking is correct, when thinking about when PayPal came about, That was what? In the late 90s when PayPal come out, Steve?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. That would have made X.com a domain before Microsoft made the trademark. And I know that has a piece to do with it too.
Yeah, I don't know if that would or not. That would be up to the USPTO.
Well, then you could do like them photograph places where you let the photograph places give them all out everywhere. Then you buy the thing and you go and tell people, "Oh, you owe us $1,000 for a license."
No. It's their average rate is 770. I've gotten several of those
billed for
emails.
$1,000.
Really?
I even looked in the picture to see if there was metadata that tied it to the place, and there wasn't. So I'm refusing to pay. They can take me to court. I'll just show them the image and say, look, there's no metadata. How would I know where this came from? And it was on like 10 other websites. So
It's going to be interesting. If making his
let's
life
not-
interesting is Musk's goal, I think he's achieving it.
I'm just thinking back to the history of when he first set up XCOM, when they amalgamated PayPal into it, and it eventually became PayPal. But he was trying to build that vision of pay everything everywhere at
Yeah.
that time, and he's just trying to repeat it now. He was doing things very, very wrongly, and that's why Peter Thiel kicked him out. And I reckon the same's going to happen. What we're seeing with here, there are people who are invested in X now that put the money up for him. A lot of it's his own money, but there are people there. They're going to say, "What the hell are you doing?
yeah,
Get him out." And so that could happen. But for us, for an SEO point of view, at some point, he's going to drop twitter.com and change it to x.com. And boy, oh boy, is that going to be a use case for redirects. He's going to screw it up something terrible. I just know it.
well, I bet you embeddings everywhere are broken.
No, absolutely. The whole web has got links.
Like, and there's probably millions of embedded tweets on the web, like literally
There are.
Yep.
It's all just going to fail.
all broke.
Well,
I-
there's ways they can fix that. I mean, XCOM right now forwards to Twitter. There's ways that they can fix that and give
There are,
people,
yes.
90 days, 60 days, whatever, if they want to change their coding. But they, so if it's going to twitter.com, that's not going to be a problem yet.
It's a small
That's
technical
extra
issue compared with
processing.
everything else. And normally when you change a brand, you've got good SEOs, technical SEOs there will help you through that process. I bet they don't hire any SEOs at all. I bet they do it. Things break and say, right, how do we fix that? And they fix it afterwards. But that's minor, really minor compared with the marketing faux pas for the brand that he's done. It's just, it'll be a business case for years to come until the planet dies. How to screw up a brand completely.
Well, I agree with you. And I would say that he won't even bother with fixing it because it's not part of the new business plan. It's to become a financial, like, who's going to buy shit on Twitter? Not me, that's for sure. Nobody with half a brain is going to give their money to something
Well,
like Twitter.
A journalist made the point the other day, which I thought was kind of valid. Alphabet, I'm not going to go Alphabet that. Everybody's still using Google, okay? And Google recognized the fact that Google was not, as a name, was not going to go away, so they've embraced it, and they just made it a holding of, okay? There's a lot of instances out there where people have not accepted the change. They continue to call it by the old name. Okay. I don't recall what the other instance he mentioned was, but it was just as valid that, like Meta, obviously Facebook is still like what Google did. They're still embracing it as Facebook, but nobody is going to start calling it Meta on a regular basis. they're going to refer to it as Facebook, even if they stop using it on the site. They're going to continue to refer to Twitter, even if there is no reference to Twitter anywhere on the site. Yacarino was funny. She was posting, probably at the prompting of her chairman, that powered by X will be connecting us in all in ways we're just beginning to imagine. Now, I think you need to figure it out, Linda. We're imagining a lot of ways it's going to connect us, and none of them are very pretty. It's not going to connect me.
Oh no, I left Twitter for about probably 3 or 4 years and then came back. The first thing I noticed, it's useless. I used to use it just to find new content and new people to learn from. Now it's fucking useless. All it is guys with niche sites saying they make millions of dollars. It's fucking horseshit. Sorry,
Okay.
I don't know. Like, it just blows my mind how fucking stupid the people are on Twitter now. Like, there's maybe 3 or 4 people that they're even worth listening to.
Well, I decided a long time ago that going to Twitter for any kind of information was frustrating on a good day. The only way to do it is to build lists. Or you use something like Hootsuite, or in the good old days, TweetDeck, to build what you wanted to monitor into a particular column. But to go to Twitter in the wild, if you don't drink heavily already, get back to me by 3 p.m. You will.
Also, as soon as Musk took over, saw it flip from being ultra liberal to like so far right, I'm right. And I found it like, whoa, over the top.
Yeah. It's a mess. I personally, I don't give it 2 years.
Oh no, it won't.
And I think 2 years is being optimistic. It may be faster than that. I just don't see it surviving. And that's not just because of the name change. That's just one more nail in the coffin. It's his whole way of taking decisions. He's either employed some real morons, or he's paying no attention to the people around him. I'm inclined to go with the latter. I don't think that there's that many morons under one roof. So either they're afraid to tell him something, or he refuses to listen.
Well, you
Possibly
wonder,
both.
are there even any morons? He's let so many people go. Are there really employees? They could be. They're all just AI chatbots.
Well, a chat box that he could control and not have to ever worry about being disagreed with would be right up his alley. I don't know. The guy has been successful. He has brains.
Yeah,
He just seems
I
to be.
disagree.
No. He's no idiot. Okay. The problem is he just refuses to use them in common sense ways. He's got the brain.
Anybody could have started an EV company when he did and do the same thing he did. Anybody with half a brain.
He didn't start. He didn't start an EV company. He
either.
bought one.
Right.
He bought one.
Right. And same with PayPal. He didn't really have much to do with that. In fact, he got kicked out for fucking it up.
And a hat tip to Peter Thiel for that.
Yeah. Like, to me, same with SpaceX. He just seems to get real lucky and stumble upon things. Like, if NASA keep their thing going, who's going to use his thing? Like SpaceX, right? That's another one of his big plays, and just luck.
Well, I disagree. I don't think it's all just luck. I was watching the original Buck Rogers back in the 50s when they had space rockets that would actually go up vertically and come down vertically and land and be reused. And yet with the hundreds of trillions of dollars that have been spent around the world over the last 70 years, nobody has ever been able to do that until SpaceX. Okay. They actually brought a rocket back down and landed it. Sure, they had some failures. Any development is going to have some failures, but they can actually successfully bring these rockets back down vertically and land them. Okay. That's a major accomplishment that thousands and thousands of very accomplished engineers were never able to approach. So, no, the guy's no idiot. Did he design it all? I'm sure not. But he did have enough brains to find the right people and put them together and give them the drive and the motivation, and whether it was a kick in the butt or a fat paycheck or a combination. But you don't do that with luck. It's not luck. Some luck may be involved, but in a very small proportion. It's a shame, though, somebody that has those abilities to be so unable to control their own knee-jerk reactions to things.
Well, that's why I think it's luck.
Yeah, I think he has more of an impulse control issue than anything.
Yeah, I'd agree,
Yeah.
Steve. Yes, it's very impulsive.
Okay, well, I don't know. Have we beat that one to death?
For this week,
I like taking
Oh,
shots at Elon, so I'm game to keep going if we have anything we haven't touched, but no sense in riding a dead horse into the ground here. We were talking in the green room before we started about something else that I'm sure some of the folks have heard about. California, the state, is trying to outlaw phasing in the outlawing of gas appliances like air conditioners and stoves and heaters and water heaters. And apparently, their plan would call for an average $30,000 cost to households in the state of California. Okay. These things are going to be phasing in as far out as 2029, some of which are going to take place here in 2023. Okay. I don't know where they think the electricity to power these new electric stoves is going to come from. It's not going to be a coal plant, okay? Or, you don't slap together a nuclear power plant overnight, and it's certainly not free to do so.
It's not going to be any plant. It's going to be, they're going to try to buy more power from Colorado and Nevada. And those states, when I lived in California, actually started shutting off California because they weren't paying their bill.
Yeah.
And California is presently supplying power from several of their plants to other states. So, they're already at a point, if you take all of just the stoves, okay, which would take place here later in 2023, just the gas stoves, and make people convert them to electric stoves. I don't know what kind of moratorium there is, what the grace period is, but if it's going to happen let's say on 1 January 2024, the impact to the power grid in California is going to be such that they're no longer going to be able to export power. They're going to have to import power, and they're still going to have a severe shortfall. Okay. That's just the stoves.
Yeah.
Now, and look downstream. Okay. If they're selling power right now to Wyoming and their shortfall in California, they're going to stop selling that power to Wyoming. What are the good farmers in Wyoming going to do? Now, fortunately, there's not millions and millions of them living in that state. But of the 5 people that live there, what are they going to do for electricity?
Yeah, but like Steve said about Colorado, right, cutting off California, well, pretty soon they're going to be out of power too because of the change to electrical cars. Like if they're going to make it, 30-30, most of the cars are supposed to be electric.
They're supposed to stop selling internal
Good.
combustion cars by 2035.
Oh, is it 35, Steve? Thanks.
I still
But
have,
even then,
Yeah,
it's
even
not enough
then,
time to build
that's,
up the infrastructure.
yeah,
that's like 12 years
These are-
away, man. That isn't a long time to build a new grid.
These are all wonderful, great ideas, but there's no way you can schedule all this. You don't have even if it weren't a factor of money, you don't have enough tradespeople
Right.
qualified to do the work
yep.
to get it all done by then. It's just not going to happen. You know, I'm glad we left California when we did, but even here in Tennessee, we're starting to see issues. And all of our a significant percentage of our power is hydroelectric. And our river's flowing good. We've got plenty of water. We've got more water than we need right now. But that
Now.
changes.
Well,
Yeah.
look at the Colorado River. The Colorado
Yeah.
River 20 years ago was massive. It had an average depth of 65
it's
feet,
a
for Christ's
desert.
sake. Now
The desert.
it's a desert. Yeah, you can almost wade across the son of a bitch. Yeah. So a lot of that is because, California exports or provides, I should say, something like 70% of the domestic fruit and produce in the United States. And that's where a lot of that water is gone, because there's a lot of good soil if you got water to it.
Yeah.
But you can't just wonder or assume that it's going to replenish itself. It's, there's such short-sightedness involved in these knee-jerk reactions, particularly in legislation. Things
Here,
that,
here in Tennessee, we have some strange water rules because of the TVA, and they control the water.
well, yeah, the TVA has been a monolith for so long.
Yeah, but what we learned, especially like on my property, we have springs that come right up out of the ground all by themselves and start creeks. What we learned from the TVA and the people in charge was, since it originated on our property,
You own the water.
we own it. It's ours. We can do whatever. So when I wanted to build a pond, usually you have to go through a process. I want to dam up part of a creek. I want to do whatever. I want to pull water. I don't have to go through that. I just dig a hole and put up a levee, and that water's mine.
Let the thing fill up from the spring, Steve? Is that how you did it?
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, even like our littlest pond that we built, it's like 1/3 of an acre, 12 feet deep, and it filled all by itself from that little creek in like 3 days.
Wow.
It is a lot of water coming up out of the ground, and it's like that all the way around here. Water is not an issue. The question is, what are we going to do with it, and how are we going to take advantage of it?
And knowing the TVA, I'm surprised they had not already tried to find a way to lay claim to that water, even though it was on your land.
Well, they would have to, know about it. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the amount of water that comes up out of the ground in
Yeah.
my house is
To
only
them, insignificant.
it's only like an inch deep and like 4 feet wide. But it's constant. It's always flowing. Even in the hottest part of summer, it's flowing. So
Wow, that's really great. And when I lived in Petaluma, I had springs. Actually, one came up right in front of the barn door, but in the summer they dried up. So to have it go all year is really fabulous.
Yeah.
Especially when you have livestock.
it certainly makes keeping the stock watered in those pastures, that's a non-issue for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't swim in that pond anymore. I wouldn't. There's
From the fish.
some, it'd be like swimming in an active septic tank, because the cows don't care.
Cows.
Oh.
Yeah. But that's great to have water all year round. I mean, it's the vision, right? Fenced and cross fence with running water. There you go.
Is there fish in it, Steve? I can't believe
Yeah.
you don't have fish in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We put fish in it that we were told wouldn't live here. So, and they're doing just fine.
Of course.
We were told it was too hot for yellow perch. We showed them wrong.
Oh, 12 deep is good enough,
Well,
especially.
yeah,
well,
if it was 2 feet deep, no, but
Yeah,
But yeah, when it comes to all this stuff, it's like a lot of these things get passed or regulated because it sounds good without any consideration for all the moving parts around it.
yep.
What was that I-95 bridge that collapsed a month or so ago? They had a fuel tanker catch fire underneath of it and the bridge collapsed. And, this is one of those major artery type bridges. And they got the whole thing rebuilt in a month. It wasn't years. It was like, this needs to be fixed and it needs to be fixed yesterday.
yeah.
And all of a sudden it was fixed. Same thing happened in California after the San Francisco quake when they knocked a lot of bridges and stuff out in our area. There were so many damaged bridges that they just handed out the contracts and like everybody gets a bridge or 2 bridges. And if you finish early, well, whoever's behind, we're going to take it from them and give it to you, kind of thing. And a handful of construction companies are like, oh, well, as long as we can waive a couple of regulations, like being able to work 24/7, we'll get going. And so they tripled up on their shifts and lights and generators and had bridges rebuilt in weeks
it was
and
weak.
made a crap ton of money. So, I mean, it's possible to do stuff quickly, but it's unlikely to happen.
See, they make the money appear for stuff like that, Steve. If
Yeah.
it's just maintaining them, they wait till they fall down and
Yeah.
then they pay to fix them.
There's
Who
a
cares
there's a
if
there's
a
a
few
construction
people get killed in the meantime?
there's a construction guy I follow on TikTok. He goes, there's this little tiny pothole in this back country road, like where I live. And they're like, all right, this is a 9-year project, and we're going to need to start way over here, shut down this part of that freeway, and go way over here and shut down that part of that freeway. We're going to dig all this back up, completely redo it all. And then he's playing the other side of the crew. They're like, I can do this in like 45 minutes. And they're like, nope, 9-year project. And finally, at the end, it's like some politician lives on this road. It's like, oh, okay. Well, now I get it.
Yep.
Wow.
Sounds like a
Amazing.
government job.
Yeah.
I want to switch to SEO for just a sec. And
Aw.
earlier today, Andrea Volpini and Theodora Petkova were in a discussion with CalCube about machine learning, AI, and human connection. And it was very interesting. I highly recommend it. I think it's everywhere. It's on YouTube. It's in LinkedIn. It's today's CalCube presentation, but essentially it is about how a human can talk to another human with the assistance of AI. Anyway, very interesting conversation, and the work that Andrea Volpini has done is pretty amazing. So I'm recommending that to everybody.
I follow him. He's got some good ideas. He kind of sees where that's going, where
Yeah, he does.
they're going to be injecting LLMs with the knowledge base and stuff.
Exactly. That's what he was
Yeah.
talking about.
Like that.
Yeah.
I've been reading his stuff for a while.
Yeah,
And-
very, very interesting. I know I've been following him since, WordLift appeared, whenever that was, 6 or 7 years ago, I can't remember. And he just gets more and more into it. The farther he goes, the deeper he goes. And yeah, he's really interesting. And that he's doing the research, he gets a theory and then he does the research and works to make things happen. It's very impressive. Anyway, it's a very interesting discussion. That's it. Just wanted to recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, he's definitely worth following. I've read a few of his things, looked at some of the programs that he suggests. And actually, I've been working with the Google Cloud app, the NLP app, to
Mhm.
extract. What I'm hoping to do is extract all the entities in a page and then run OpenAI and get headings based on the page and keywords that are not keywords. I'd like to use the query that you want to use.
Queries, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you should definitely watch that, Terry.
yeah, I probably
because-
will. I made a note of it the other day. Another good place to learn if you want to learn about LLM. It's very technical is weight and bias. That's where Dave Davies works.
Yeah,
And that's the a lot of us know. He's been into AI for a while now. And the company he works for actually does write software to test your applications.
Have you got a link for that, Sarah, that you could drop in?
yeah,
chat?
hold on. Let me put it in the chat. Hold on. Chat and type message.
How many of you are using SGE? I won't touch it myself.
Not
I
really,
ignore
I've
it.
had a look.
Not
Yeah.
me.
I ignore it, when I do a search, the SG's part comes up at the top. And I just ignore it because it's so often off the mark.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it's going to really screw up things if they do it because they're taking everything that they used in SGE from only a few sites. Like instead of getting exposed to 10, they take stuff out of 3 sites. That's it. And don't provide any links. Now, part of that is I don't think they know where that stuff came from that they're putting.
Well,
out
the
there.
interesting part to me is they have that with the no links, we divined this and here's our answer, right? And
Yeah.
then over there on the side, they have these little other things, like a website or a blog post or something, that's sort of maybe related. And I don't what I find about SGE is that this is one of the things we were talking about in that discussion earlier is the specificity. There's no specificity. So if you're looking for an answer, you're just getting this stuff. I don't know what else to call it. It's just stuff, but there's no, the specificity is totally hit and miss. And so, because I've been following it since it popped up, which was what, mid-June? And I thought, okay, well, it's all screwed up now. So it's, a test and it's going to get better, but I don't see the getting better part yet.
Well, here's from what I've seen in trying to program LLMs, there's not even a way to store the URL where the content came from. There's not a possible way to do it. Because from what I saw, I had to do it through a third-party source. So that's part of the things that weights and bias does as well, is you can add information like that into it, into your LLM.
Into your LLM, yeah. So what you're doing, and this is what Andrea was talking about earlier today, is you are creating your own knowledge graph from which the LLM can extract information.
Right.
So you're like directing the LLM by creating.
Well, a lot of times you're using the big one, right? Just to do the word predictions part, the summary part of it. But I think what you'll find is people will take their own content and set it on top of it with the real factual parts, and you add that into the
Yeah,
prompts.
yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on SGE? I mean, that was my take. I'm just like, not happening yet.
I'm just hoping that it'll go the way of Google Plus.
I
Well,
want
it
Google,
probably
we could
will.
get Google Plus back and SGE go away. I'd be happy.
Let's not forget that Google
Personally, I
Plus
don't
is
understand why
still around, isn't it?
SEOs are using it. Because you're basically training their LLM for them. It's nonsense. Anybody who does it it's like, well, I'm going to take this gun and put it to my head and hope when I pull the trigger, it's not going to kill me. It's almost like playing Russian roulette with your career.
But SEOs have a long history of training Google's algorithms for them. I mean, all Google has to say is it could be a ranking factor. Not that it is a ranking factor. It could be a ranking factor
And-
if you did this, this, and
And
this.
there we go.
All of a sudden,
There we
everybody.
go.
This is the first time that I'll agree with you on something. The fact that they're using people's content and not providing any links to that content now means that they're basically stealing people's content. If
Yeah.
you could control it with a robot text, to me, that made it, that's an opt-in program or opt-out program, whatever you want to call it. But with this, it seems like they're not going to give anybody a chance to say, no, you can't use my content. What it's going to end up is with the courts full of people suing them.
Yeah.
When their businesses all go in the trasher because of it,
Mhm.
they're going to sue them.
Yeah.
And then
And
we'll
you got
all,
the guy at OpenAI who's saying, well, what we're going to do is just give everybody enough money to live on and I'll be a multi-billionaire.
so
That's
what ends up
basically
happening
what
is
he's
then after
saying.
the class action suit is over, everybody is 27 cents richer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the lawyers.
except for the lawyer. Yeah.
The
My
lawyer.
first hint that they didn't know where content came from was when they expressed sites, when they said, oh, these sites have these many tokens, right? That told me they were reverse engineering their data to figure out how many prompts were prompting these sites' data. Otherwise, you would just give a list of the sites, not that they have this many tokens associated with them. That made me suspicious from the get-go. Like,
Oh, you were born suspicious, Terry.
oh yeah, well, that's yeah, I'm skeptical of everything.
And not entirely unfounded either.
Yeah, well,
Ammon's in the chat on YouTube and has been saying a few salient points about LLMs and AI. I've suggested to him that he pops on the show shortly, well, not today, but maybe next time. But I'll need to give him a prompt to remind him what day of the week it is. So maybe we'll get him on next time and he can tell us what deep dive he's been doing into AI, because I know he's been involved in something. Because I saw his name somewhere. And so it'd be interesting to see what his perspective on where this is all going, because it's fascinating times. So maybe we'll get him on in a couple of weeks.
That would be good. Oh, what else is on the burner?
Apparently, there's a lot of the Google meters going off the charts over the last week, and it hasn't slowed down yet. Anybody notice any difference? I haven't. It's just constant change as far as I'm concerned. But people have raised it and said, "Oh, algos are coming out," but
A lot of
nobody's really
volatility,
shown any
but-
interest at all.
but like those tools don't really show.
No.
You know, they're not measuring volatility in the SERP, really.
Well, they kind of are, but the trouble is they can't measure it all. So they've grouped, each of them have got their own group of things they're measuring, and they see volatility in that, and that gives them their graph. But of course, they're all measuring the different bits and pieces, because once again, they can't measure it all. So therefore, you're going to get different ones saying different things. And it really does depend on what they're watching and what they're measuring, what keywords they're measuring. But
okay,
They
it
won't tell
measures flux, but it doesn't tell you anything about any ongoing update or anything like that.
No,
Anybody
it
who
just says
says that kind of stuff, they lose all credibility with me, because that proves you haven't even looked to see. Nobody even knows how these tools figure out the flux. Nobody knows. When Dave and I interviewed Dr. Pete, that was one of the first questions I asked him, is exactly what is this Mozcast? How do you do it? And it's just a bunch of domains that they know about, that they check like they could be all information sites, but he did say it's a mixture of different types of sites. But really, like a retail site is going to get hit more than an information site on light bulbs. Like,
and it completely depends upon what all the competitors are doing and seasonal effects and all that. So really, they need to be measuring millions of websites. They're probably not.
oh no, definitely not. Like, definitely not millions. Well, that costs too much money.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. So yeah, it's a nice, pretty picture, but I haven't seen any changes, really. And because it's constantly happening, there's
Well, if
constant
you're-
change all the time. Well, now you can't actually work out if something you've done has made an improvement, or dramatic loss on something, or it's something they've done, or
But
something a competitor's done. It's just,
Well-
what's the point?
here's something that I've felt from day one, right? Anybody who's saying it works today, right, is not doing sustainable SEO, because 9 times out of 10, what works today will not work in a year.
And even 6 months from now.
Yeah, well, I actually did tweet a while ago, 6 months.
You
that
did.
I believe it has a shelf life of 6
No,
months.
you mean you X'd a while ago?
No, it was still Twitter then, Doc, I believe. But yeah, I noticed that a long time ago, when that was back in the days of I search. Somebody would mention a technique on there and it worked for a while, and then 6 months later, no, it's not working. Because, like, if everybody's doing it, that washes it all out. So then it's how good are you doing it compared to the other guy? And then Google comes along and says, well, it's not going to work for either of you, and peels it off. That's why when Dave and I had the dojo and Steve was involved and Doc, a lot of our time was spent talking about SEO future proofing, like looking for information to tell us, well, don't do this because it may work now, but it's not going to in the future. Like, I told people, well, wow, almost from the beginning of the dojo, that links will just keep doing less and less. And now, lots of queries. If you're building links to try and raise the ranks, sorry, if you raise, like, on some queries, doesn't matter how many links you get, you're probably not going to rank unless you're the most relevant. Relevance is a much bigger piece
It's a
of
much bigger thing, and I think that's one of the things that Bill stressed so much is that shift from, let's just say, the shift to relevancy, and the correlation between the relevant topics, entities, whatever you want to call them, that make something informational and give it the ability to answer a query. That's my understanding.
Yeah, it's when Google changed from phrase-based search, which is keywords, right, repeated on a page,
Hmm.
to entity-based, it's now entities and co-occurrences. So they look at all the words in a page, make a big bag of words, and then they're all given salience and whatnot, and that's how they determine relevance now. So repeating
Because it's everything that's there
in the whole
in
corpus.
the whole corpus.
Corpus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how much the everything that's there, the internal parts relate to each other. That's my understanding of how
Right.
it works now.
The distance that entities are from one another in a
Mhm.
sentence, and that all counts too.
Well,
That's how they make the associations.
that's where all the vectorization comes into play, and it makes it a very
Yeah.
simple mathematical calculation to look at any corpus of work and determine what's the context, what's the main focus,
Yeah,
what are the other peripheral focus, and between the entities and vectorization, you know, and computers that can do 12 million things per second, it's not at all difficult to imagine how Google can read a 2,000 word article and determine relevance, determine usability, I shouldn't say usability, usefulness and uniqueness, you know. So it's, I mean, if people just look at what Google has been doing for some period of time, the EEAT, the rank
Each
brain,
been
you know,
around,
all these
each
things
been
come into,
around forever.
well, they're all coming together.
They're all coming together.
You know, if you're thinking about it, they all come together. They're all going after the same goal.
yeah. A lot
Nope,
of people.
I'm going to go out and buy 10,000 links. Okay, go
Go
for it.
for it.
I got accused of making stuff up on Twitter when I said I got a page in the rankings before it was indexed. Well, I did. It was in within hours of when I published it.
Oh, I remember when you said that, Terry.
Yeah, and that's, if you look on Discord, me and Ammon had a big argument about it because I said I'm never going to build a link to this and it'll stay number one as long as it's there, as long as I keep it published. That was just shortly after Bill passed. And part of the reason I did it was that was a test that Bill and I had talked about doing, because we had this theory about the bag of words that Google creates and the vectorization, Doc, that goes into a big bag of words and they can actually determine relevance of a page as soon as it's crawled. It goes into that vector right away. And that's how they're doing it. And I will say that the topic is SEO, semantic audits, right? And there's hardly anything written about it. Now, what I did notice was that 2 sites wrote articles in the last few months. They both were up near the top, but they're dropping down. And the sites, like half the sites in that result are about ranking using semantic SEO and not even about doing an audit.
Yep. About ranking.
We're at the top of the hour here.
Oh, that went fast.
It did.
Yeah, I tend to keep it going, eh?
So good to see you here, Terry.
Yeah. Not had much to do these days. I've watched everything on Netflix, Prime, Netflix, Prime, Stars.
You've binged it all.
Through
Huh?
Apple, almost through Apple now.
The binge king.
And just out of, I hate Disney. So I won't get Disney, but I flip Netflix off every once in a while and try something new. pretty soon, I guess I'm gonna have to go to the free ones to find new content. That's how I have a favorite Western called The Lone Riders. I don't know if any of you have seen that before.
No.
Really good. It's about the James brothers and the James gang, and it had actual Quaid brothers, and yeah, it's all played by actual brothers in the movie as well. It's a good
Oh.
movie.
Wow,
It's
cool.
called The Lone Riders. Only available on Tubi. Tubi. Maybe it's
UBI.
Tubi.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's called Tubi.
Huh. No, I've not heard of it. Sounds
Oh,
like
it's
it'd be
a
good one.
free one with lots about commercials every 15 minutes. Same one. So by the end of the movie, you have the commercial embedded in your head.
I'm gonna go ahead and kill the live stream. I'm not going to.